So I actually went through that. So that means get a good education, get a good job. I bought a house way bigger than what I could afford, but because I worked for a multinational and they had pretty decent salary.
Very good salary. Basically, like a old bureaucrat salary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is what the 5 C's are: cash, car, credit card, condominium, country club.
Oh, country club and
the 5 C lah.
Oh, 5 C's. Okay.
So then the 6 Sixes one is a 6-figure salary. 6 feet tall.
Okay.
Drives a 600 horsepower car. Has a 6-pack.
I don't know whether 6.
Before we begin the podcast, have you gotten your free ebook? It's called the Build a 6-Figure Portfolio Guidebook. Now, inside it, we share with you the tips and tricks to bring your stock investing skills to the next level. The best part, it's only 10 pages long and it's totally free. Whether you're on Spotify or YouTube, the link to download is in the description, or you can go to www.firl.co/FREE or www.firl.co/free. Hello everybody, welcome back to the FIRL podcast, best place for long-term stock investors. So in our tradition of bashing other asset classes, today we will kindly, politely, professionally bash properties. No, but jokes aside, really we're going to discuss today, John.
Yep.
Really stocks versus properties, right? And, you know, we did post a YouTube video, I think back in November 2020.
Yeah.
About stocks versus properties. We gave you a brief outline of what it is. And I think this podcast, we're going to go a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to share our experiences. We're going to break down the math for you, why it's mathematically, just math-wise, not a good idea. Right? And we're going to give a lot of other qualitative reasons why John think that, really properties is, it's not bad, but it's a bit overrated.
Yeah.
Right? Speaking of overrated, I think let's begin this discussion by really trying to figure out or explain what are some of the common reasons, right? What are some of the typical reasons you hear why people should go for properties, right? And usually the process is always like that, right? Your parents usually will say, okay, you study hard, you get a job, right? Hopefully it's a high-paying job. You save some money. And when you save that money, they will say it's for an investment.
Yeah.
But what is that investment? The investment is for a house, right? And they say the most important is to get a roof over your head so that also you can attract the girl.
Yeah.
Right? In Mandarin, is it 没有房子,没有孩子,
没有孩子.
Right? No room, no children, right?
Yeah.
And then also, this is for guys, obviously, it's a bit sexist, but then again, China is a bit patriarchal. And only after you get family, only you start thinking of investing in whatever, right? Whether it's stocks or businesses, gold, crypto, and all that. So that's the process. Now, that's something we disagree with for many, many reasons. And so, John, maybe you want to start off saying why that process doesn't make sense and go into some of the things that you've heard in your life about why buying a house is the most important investment,
Quote unquote,
the best investment anyone can make.
Actually, when you were explaining and asking that question, I was like thinking, how far back does it go? Because I'm a history buff, but not as crazy as you.
Oh yes, actually, then let me interject that. I can explain it to you. Okay, so this is for Chinese people only.
Yeah, feudalism time even.
No, so it goes back all the way to the beginning of Chinese history, basically.
Yeah.
So today there are many ways to make money, right? You can online business, sell food, whatever. So last time there are only 2 ways to make money in China. Right. In fact, the merchant class, right, what we call like businessmen, that were seen as third tier.
Compared to the royalties and all that.
Yeah, correct. So there was a hierarchy. So merchants or businessmen were seen as low because of the Confucian culture. So you couldn't really make money from like selling things, right? You could, but then you'd be frowned upon. So there's a lot of social connotation that comes with it.
Yeah.
So there's only two ways. One, you become a bureaucrat,
A kun.
a government official.
Yeah, a quan. A
Yes.
kun.
So that has, okay, so to use modern day language, that is the most cash flow generative profession. Because you receive a salary and it's fixed. And then because China was somewhat meritocratic, so you can rise through the ranks very high. And then some people, I mean, you hear stories of, people coming from small villages and end up becoming, the advisor of the emperor.
And
things
it's
like that.
seen noble, I think, much more noble.
Yeah, that's right. They dress noble, they speak noble, they look
correct.
more noble, they have fancy hats.
In a way, as close as it can get to being an aristocrat, but yet not born an aristocrat in a way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because China had a slightly more advanced system of governance back in the day where, there's meritocracy and, you can climb the ranks.
Yes.
Whereas, in a place like Europe, basically it's blood-based, right?
Yeah.
If you're wrong family, you're wrong family, that's it. And that's why, a lot of English names, they have, the names are based on the profession, like John Taylor.
Yes, and it's a
Samuel Blacksmith, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
your profession.
Yeah. So that's how deep it ran in when it comes to, giving that your job is going to be what your father did. So China was a bit different.
Yeah.
That was the most cash flow generative. It's the modern day investment banking, basically.
Correct.
But there was a problem. It was not. You could get fired anytime.
Yeah.
So it was not stable. There was no employment contract last time. Literally, the emperor don't like you. Well, if you're lucky,
you're still alive.
You're still alive.
If not, you're beheaded.
Yeah, you're beheaded. As a result, a lot of people, when they go into the bureaucracy, so the all the children all the people who are in the in the paddy fields and all that, planting vegetables, whatever, wheat. It's hard work, so they want their children to take the civil service examination, which existed, I think, during the Tang Dynasty at the beginning. So what happened was that they always ask them to go inside there. So once they managed to get inside there, the very few, which was probably only 10% of the population or less, then they experienced this problem of they could get fired anytime, and it was very volatile.
Volatile, yeah, okay.
So what do? They buy land.
Amass.
Yes. That is why Chinese people always emphasize education, to getting a stable job.
Correct.
Saving money, and buying land.
That's why when you asked me that question and you were elaborating just now, right? I just thought back about both my parents' sides.
Yes. So now let's transport
modern times, right? Modern times from Chinese feudalism back to when a lot of the immigrants, Chinese or Indians, when they come here, right, and even the natives here, right. I think wealth was always associated to amassing tangible assets.
Yeah.
Either a shop lot or land. Even the agrarian culture or society. If you're a landowner, you're rich, right?
Yes.
The only thing that changed over time was that from agricultural land, now you own buildings and all that kind of. And I guess both sides of my family, my mother's side is actually Fujian. So they mainly come from the Fujian province. And when my grandfather, my maternal grandfather came here, he owned, I think, pepper plantations.
Oh, you mean like the white pepper or black pepper?
I can't remember. I know it's pepper, right? And my mom had to what do you call it? Tape rubber.
My grandmother did the same thing as well. Yeah. So it's like 4 or 5 o'clock, they have to wake up.
Yeah.
They go to the plant, then they get bitten by mosquitoes and things
leeches.
like that. That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And even then, right, they had a big family. I think 9 sisters and 2 brothers.
Yep.
Inheritance always goes to the male, right? Obviously. And then all this while, wealth is always equated to how much land you have, how much properties you have. Similarly to my father's, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, he was, I think, owned coca plantations.
Cocoa, okay.
Yeah, cocoa at very, very small scale. But even then, it's always this belief system that surrounds a lot of Chinese families about wealth creation through landlord, being a landlord. And I think what has probably just changed a little bit is about instead of being in the civil service,
Mm.
They pride a lot, especially Chinese families. They pride a lot that you get a professional job.
Yeah.
And whatever wealth or cash flow that is actually generated from your professional job is to get the basics right. I think that's how they see it. Get the basics right. That means in Singapore they have this thing called the 5 C's. You were saying about 没有家没有孩子, right?
Yeah,
in Chinese 没有房子. In Singapore there's the 5 C's.
Yeah,
and then
condo, credit card.
Cash, condo, credit card. I can't remember the. Yeah.
I think one of them is a bit vulgar one, but okay.
Yeah. So the connotation of wealth creation has always stuck to that. And
in the West is that they call it the 6 sixes. I don't even know.
No, I don't know.
6 foot, 6 figure salary, 6 inch. You know what?
Oh, okay.
And then the other 3 6. I don't know. I'll Google. Yeah, continue.
So what the struggle is that since 99% of the society actually plants that into your head ever since young, right? It's very difficult for you to change out that mindset, because it's like, it's like the spoken truth, because it's been drilled down so many times. So I actually went through that. So that means get a good education, get a good job. I bought a house way bigger than what I could afford, but because I worked for a multinational and they had pretty decent salary.
Very good salary. Basically, like a old bureaucrat salary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is what the 5 C's are: cash, car, credit card, condominium, country club.
Oh, country club and
the 5 C's lah.
Oh, 5 C's. Okay.
So then the 6 sixes one is a 6-figure salary. 6 feet tall.
Okay.
Drives a 600 horsepower car. Has a 6-pack.
I don't know whether 600 horsepower still applies for turbo cars.
Yeah, at least 6 months since his last relationship.
Oh, okay.
And then the number 6 is the one 6 inches. You know what, right?
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you're saying you're earning good salary,
good salary,
stable.
Get a roof over your head, and then the realization hit me when, as I mentioned in an earlier podcast, someone gave me the book on Kiyosaki, right?
Right.
And at 19, and you see, you don't get all the concepts at once, It's
that's
like
right.
The concepts, you hear it, but you don't live it until you live it, And here I was, property should be giving you cash flow.
Okay.
Okay. And here I was, instead of getting cash flow, I was giving cash flow. So I sat down and I think, who am I making rich here? The bank or myself? So
wait, that's a very good point, because back in the day, in old China, right? There's no such thing as credit.
Yeah.
So when you buy a land, means that's your land lah.
It's cash.
But today there's another owner lah.
Yeah. So then it got me thinking. Then I knew at that point of time I was so tight for cash flow, and maybe I'll just repeat it here for those who never heard of this before. So I was making a gross salary of about 6,000.
Okay.
Net probably about 3 something, 3, 4. And I was very lucky because I was working in a project team, and in project teams we get to travel a lot.
Yeah.
And because you get get allowances, not a lot, but you also don't get to spend a lot of money because most of your meals
you're out anyway.
Yeah, you're out. And those allowances actually helped me survive, because here I was, my housing mortgage cost me 2.5 a month, and I was getting net 3.2 sometimes on average. So that left me with $700. Okay, thank God I didn't have a car. No, I had a car, but it was a hand me down from my dad. Right, it was a hand me down from my dad. It was a 16-year-old Iswara, and I'm very grateful for that.
Do you still have it or sold already?
Oh, I sold it. I sold it when I moved to KL from Miri. Okay. Yeah, and it's a manual car. I doubt you wouldn't want to drive a manual car in KL Jam.
I don't know how to drive it.
So, I think the essence of what I'm trying to say is that cash flow is king, not cash is king.
Yep.
Cash flow in the sense that really, really understand what's the definition of an asset. An asset is something that gives you cash flow. And if you buy an asset, so-called, for your own stay, it's not an asset, it's a liability. I know it sounds so cliche, so basic, right? But most people don't get it right. They will come with a lot of reasoning and argument to say that, hey, but never mind, it will appreciate in the future. Yes. What is the key to an asset? The asset is cash flow, not capital appreciate in the future. Even if it's capital appreciates to the future, what are you gonna do? You're gonna chop it up in parts and then sell
Then
it.
you tell people,
You're gonna get it in cash flow.
Yeah, which actually brings, I think, 2 points where there's very two myths. So one myth and another clarification point.
Yeah.
I think the first myth is, people say they want to buy properties because usually the story is, I'll buy it, then I'll rent it out, and then to cover installment, and then over time I will get more rent and all that. And so they'll be like, hey, 200-300 ringgit a month per property, and then they'll keep buying. And so if they buy 10, they get 2K a month. They then buy 100, they get 20K a month. Let's say, right? The problem with that is that I think in today's environment, especially, interest and your mortgage, right, which is what you have to pay, is sometimes, in some crazy cases, 20, 30 or 40% higher than your rent. And we'll go into the deeper math, if you guys stay on to the podcast later on. But I think that's the first myth, right? That properties can give you cash flow. It's very difficult. Even even your good friend Faizul is one. He was saying that, like, if you try to hunt for properties that only give good cash flow, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So the first one. The second one is has to do with net worth, the definition of net worth.
Yeah, that's right. Spot on.
And I think the best definition of net worth is how much liquid assets you have. Because at the end of the day, when I say I'm a millionaire, it means that if someone were to kidnap one of my loved ones and ask for a ransom, I'll be able to, and let's say he said it's $1 million, the ransom is $1 million.
Yeah.
I will be able to take it up and then, settle it within 3 days. So you can ask yourself, right? If you really want to know how much, if you are not sure if you're doing well financially and you want to know what is your net worth, you just have to ask that question, right? Tomorrow, I kidnap your kids or whoever that you love and you want to get them back and there's a ransom.
Yeah.
How much ransom can you put up? That's how much you're worth.
Yeah. Too bad we have to use the example of kidnapping.
Yeah.
But I think that is something that is like, it invokes maybe not even a kidnapping. Let's just say, touch wood, a family member that is very dear to you gets sick. Sick.
And assuming you have no insurance.
You're assuming you have no insurance. And even if you have, let's just say the insurance has exceeded whatever limit.
Yeah,
and you need to
you
need to fork out a huge amount of money to pay for
That's
this.
right. That's right.
Yeah, that could be another example. I think that there's a key point about liquidity, MJ. A lot of people think, have you seen people, owners of public listed companies that are rich but very cash poor?
Yeah.
I think that also is another angle which we can share about net worth, because
absolutely
everything is stuck. It's not liquid. It's probably on paper.
You're rich on paper.
You're rich on paper, but
that's why you hear stories of people are like billionaires. I think there was this famous Brazilian guy who was once the richest man for a short period.
Yes.
Right. What was his name?
The Petrobras guy. I can't remember. Yeah, but I know.
You know what I mean? So like he was like the richest guy, richer than Bill Gates.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yes.
But then because
if he's richer than Bill Gates, it's not Brazilian. It's the Mexican guy, Carlos Slim Henley.
Oh, this guy wasn't. Or maybe this guy was a. Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, he's a Brazilian guy lah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're talking about the Brazilian Petrobras guy lah. The guy who not Petrobras. He owned the oil company. And
that is linked to Petrobras.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he got really rich. And then after that, because of the downfall. And then they're like, hey, how come I thought you're a billionaire? And then he started owing hundreds of millions, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so anyway, back to the point about properties. And I think that's, so we talk about two myths, right? One is that it's an asset.
Yeah.
The second myth is that it is, what's the second myth again?
The second myth is that it is a cash flow generation.
It's a cash flow generation.
Yeah. And also I think maybe the other myth we would like to add is that it will appreciate something of value tomorrow. But you have to remember liquidity is also key, which was one thing that we.
Oh, I just remember this one. Okay, how about this one?
Yeah.
But John, it's a forced saving. It is a forced saving, John. So it's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, what are your thoughts about that?
Provided that forced saving is giving me returns that are better than inflation.
Okay.
And provided that forced saving can somewhat be liquidated into some kind of a cash flow in the future.
Yeah. I think it makes sense.
Yeah. So
makes sense.
it's like, I think it's too bad that a lot of financial products are being peddled out today that talks about forced saving. If there's no motivation for you to save money and to invest and grow your wealth, right? No matter what tool you're gonna use, right? I think it will be a struggle for you to make money, to create wealth, because if you need to force yourself, rather than you motivate yourself to put to develop a skill, to put it into an asset that you know will give you better cash flow in the future, and that you're patient enough about it, rather than it needs to be forced. I think that's for me.
I agree. The psychological part.
Yeah, the psychological part is.
And it's also, at the end of the day, like, for example, like emergency funds, right? The reason they are good is because you can actually use them. Yeah. Right. And that's why you save money for an emergency. But how are you going to do that with your house? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Unless you refinance your house or whatever. Yeah. But I think another one, right, that is, I think it's a little bit better, but still doesn't really make sense to me, is that, especially as a guy, if you have a house, it will force you to be more responsible. Have you heard this one before?
Oh, yes.
How?
Then might as well just say have kids.
That is true.
Might as well just say have five kids. I'm pretty sure you'll be very disciplined in managing your finances compared to, in between, I mean, in the past, it's not to belittle. They had somewhat of an option to let their children be adopted. I think it's more common in the past. You know, when families did not,
when they're struggling,
when they were struggling financially,
and there was no proper what do you call that, birth control. In today's age, right? If you have, let's say you decided to have 5 kids, between letting the kids starve and between not paying the mortgage for your house, I don't know about you, MJ, but I think the motivation for making sure my kids are not starved versus not paying my house installment, I think this is very clear. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that silly joke, right? They say, buy a car you cannot afford so that you'll find a way to do it.
Oh yeah, that's sensitive area. But for those of you who are in the industry or what we're talking about, you know exactly what we're talking about.
My response is always, bro, just buy a yacht.
buy a private jet.
You will sure find a way to do it. Yeah. So so I think there's one more thing we need to talk about. Which is before we move on. And I want to know, like, I think we should all be reminded again of your story of actually buying properties, right? And step by step, what you went through, what you thought before, and what you experienced and your learnings. But before that, I think one is leverage. I think this is one big argument that people always use and say that the big advantage that property has over the other asset classes is
leverage.
Leverage. So
good. So I rewind. Okay, so first property, my house. Not even an asset, it was a liability, 2,500 a month. So here I was stuck, not being able to come out with capital to invest.
And I remember you were telling me that you only had enough money for the window grills, right?
Yeah. I had enough money for the window grills and the awning at the back. First phase of renovation.
Aircon, how many aircon? How big was the house first?
The house was... I think 3,000 to 3,005 square feet. I can't remember.
So 3,000, okay, so those listening, right, and if you're listening to this, you're probably from the Klang Valley area. So a 3,500 house is basically about 2.5 to 2 terrace houses.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, okay, go on.
Yeah. So it was cheaper, obviously, because it was in Sarawak, in Miri.
Miri, sorry, yep.
So I had no capital to invest, and I was very blessed. So a close friend of mine, who happened to be a colleague that time as well, and another Faizul's right-hand lady, Amanda, right? Amanda. So they actually said, they both said, hey, why don't you refinance your place so that you can get some capital to buy more properties? I said, okay.
Actually, there's one interesting fact I think you missed out, which is but once you finish building that first house, how much money do you have in your bank? I still remember I remember you telling me, I forgot the number.
It was 256 ringgit. Less than my, so no, whatever I saved
one
up.
Kid and a wife who does not work, right?
That time my wife was working but no kids. but we weren't married that point.
Okay.
But literally, I had whatever I saved up in my unit trust, my fixed deposit, everything zero savings. Virtually just 256 ringgit till the next paycheck. And I only had one aircon in the guest bedroom. I couldn't even afford to buy aircon for the master bedroom. No furniture, grills, a bed, and a mattress that cost me $400.
And I remember you telling me that the TV in your living room looked like an oven, looked like
a microwave oven, because my living room width was 16 or 18 feet.
Oh, okay. That's 2 Yao Mings.
Okay.
More than 2 Yao Mings.
Yeah, and then my TV was a 32 inch, so it looked like exactly what you said, a tiny microwave. So yeah, 256 ringgit. So then it really hit me. Yeah, you may when you signed that S&P and you may afford the loan, right? The renovation alone was it cost me all in, I think about, after I finished a few phases, was 100 over 1,000. 100 over 1,000. Yeah,
that's one thing that people don't take into account. Which is actually renovation. And we'll go on to the math later on. We'll leave the juicy part at the end. Okay. So now refinance your house. Okay.
So I managed to thank my lucky stars. My paycheck had a very interesting logo on it. It looked like a shell.
Okay. Yellow and red.
Yellow and red. It looked like a shell. So the banker said, the banker literally said, "How much you want?"
All the credit rating throw out of the window.
How much you want? So I said, okay lah, 100K lah. So I had to go and see a property valuer, paid 1,000 ringgit for them to write a report that says my property is actually worth 100K more than when I bought it, right? Which was a year ago. And I literally got out 100,000, and guess what? I put it all into unit trust first. Waiting lah.
Okay, we did talk about unit trust in the past. Okay, after you bought the unit trust,
then after that I started looking for properties.
Number 2, okay.
So I did buy property number 2 in Johor. I was looking for something in KL, but again, Amanda, God bless her, she found me a property next to Aeon Jasco, or that time was Aeon Tebrau lah, they call it lah, Aeon Tebrau.
This is in Johor.
Okay, it was called it was by this developer Mayland. So studio unit 99K. Okay. I took a 90% loan. Then I went on to buy my third property, which was my place in KL.
Okay.
And then the fourth one was, I'm synthesizing, but the fourth one was also in Johor, a landed, gated, guarded for 500 something. So the mainland one, because I wanted to get my third property on a 90% loan, right, which is my KL place, I realized that I couldn't because it was the third one.
Yeah.
And for me to get a 70% loan meant that I had to fork out 300. And
for those who are listening who don't know, right, that in Malaysia, I think not today, but because of
I think it still applies. It still applies.
I thought they relaxed it.
First and second 90%.
Yeah.
Third one is 70%.
Didn't they relax it for the recent budget?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe I have to check.
Yeah, I need to check again. But anyway, if you're non-Malaysian, or if you're Malaysian but you're still not you're not aware of this, by your third property, you cannot take a full
90% loan.
90% loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to. I calculated, right. I miscalculated. I need to fork out 300 over 1,000 for my third purchase. I didn't have that kind of cash, right? So again, call Amanda. Hey, what to do? Hey, why don't you settle the second one in cash because it's 99 ma.
Right.
So literally, I settled it in cash so that the third one became my second one. And because of that, I could get a 90% loan. That was the time when I was in Philippines. I think the previous podcast we talked about it. Yeah, all those paperwork, shuffling here, shuffling there, settle this. Okay, so back to a little bit of math before we go into the deeper math. The Palazzo condo apartment in Johor that I bought for 99, I managed to sell it for 165 3 years later. So you would have thought, okay, 99, 60.
That's nearly 100% return.
Okay.
After how many years again? Sorry?
3 years.
3 years. Okay,
3 years.
That's not bad.
Not including LGBT.
Okay, so that's 5% off already. Right?
Okay. Penalty for the loan because it's a lock-in period.
And you paid off earlier, right?
Yeah, you have to pay off. Okay. Legal fees on both ends.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Okay, so all in, right? I calculated, right? I think I only managed to get about 38K as a profit after I minus off all the costs. So 3 years, 38K on a capital of, let's say, 100K lah.
40% in 3 years.
40% in 3 years. I don't know what's the KGA like. I think it's less than
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably less than
It's
50.
better than FD.
Yeah, it's better than FD lah. But the hassle I had to go through and all that kind of thing. So yeah, even the lawyer who was handling it was like, wow, John, you're very lucky, because it was a very high dense apartment, over 1,000 over units, and I was lucky to get it. The third one is where I'm staying today. The fourth one was the one in Pulai, next to a highway. I looked at it. I've been there only once after completion. I quickly tried to get rid of it. I sold it at a loss. But yeah, there you go. So a lot of these help open my eyes to the liquidity, to the cash flow and all that. And I can go on and on, because a lot of my colleagues buy properties. There are some that actually bought shop lots that were only tenanted out after 4 years or 3 years after completion.
I remember at our old company, we had a client and he was telling me that, it's a funny story. He was, actually there's another shitty part about property management, which is tenant management.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
And again, so he was telling me that he had a, I don't know whether it's terrace, single house terrace, something like that. And he rented it to an Iranian. Now, this is nothing to do with, it's not a racist or anything. It just so happened the guy was Iranian. And then one day he was watching a TV.
Okay.
And then he saw the news that there was a drug bust. So they caught someone who was, I think it was a meth lab, or I don't know. Basically, it was a drug lab illegally. Then he saw Iranian. It's like,
what
this
coincidence?
house so familiar. I said, hey, that's my house. That is my tenant, So that's why when he called up and then suddenly the police started calling him, then he was shocked, right? So he was explaining that when he manages, so you might be getting a drug.
Actually, that's not the only time I've heard. I've heard my ex-colleagues also, same thing. Meth lab in a condo. They had to break down the door to actually open it. Yeah, so
yeah, I mean, okay lah. To be fair, it's an extreme. But these are some of the potentials that you can experience. And then, if something happens like that to you, you have to try your best to hide it from the next tenant.
Yeah,
right. Because imagine you tell your next tenant, "Hey, this used to be a
meth lab,
drug lab." Okay, next time then.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go into the math, okay, guys?
Oh, yeah.
So one of the reasons why we do not advocate people investing in properties, especially when you are starting out, is this. We did the math, okay? So what we did was, when I first started creating this spreadsheet, right? Like most people, I thought, hey, okay, what do I need to fork out? And how much do I get?
Yeah.
Over time, right?
Yeah.
And most people, they have this misconception that you only need the 10% down payment, which is absolutely false.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the amount of money you need to start with. But before we determine that, we need to say, okay, what house do we have? So the house that we chose is in Casa Tropicana, which is a pretty decent area in Petaling Jaya. It's not a bad place. Not like it's
not a super atas place. It's
Yeah.
like not really like a Bangsar or a Mont Kiara.
Yeah. But the location is decent, right?
Decent.
I mean, property is all about location.
Yeah.
Right? So, that's what we did. So the price of the house is 635,000 ringgit. Now, this is based on 2018 data, so it's slightly outdated. But the basic idea is still pretty much the same. So here's what you need to actually I'm seeing on my spreadsheet here, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we call the pre-purchase cost, right? What you need to fork out before you even own the thing.
Yep.
Okay. So the first one is a down payment, 10%.
Yeah.
The second one is your sales and purchase agreement, which includes lawyer fee, stamp duty, and this disbursement fee.
Some would argue, especially the property investors, because they buy in group bulk purchase and all that, they may get this off. So, okay, fair enough. They may get
but just think about that, right?
Yeah.
For those who don't know what bulk purchase is, it means that they buy many properties.
Yeah.
Okay, now just think about it, right? What kind of people can buy a lot of properties? People who are rich, really.
Correct.
Okay, people who have unlimited capital.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you do not have unlimited capital, that example do not
does not apply to you.
all. And besides, if it's a discount, how much is it? 3%.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm just saying a normal process, right? So 3%. Then after that, loan documentation, which is 4. Okay, so you to get the agreement, I don't even know why this is the case, but to get the agreement, which is S&P agreement, you got 3%. Then to document the loan, it's another 2.5%.
Because you need, so I'm not going to go into details. I'm not an expert. But why you need to document all this is because a lot of first-time home buyers, they wouldn't know this. When you actually buy or you mortgage your house, right? Literally at that point when you sign all the agreements, there are a few key documents. One is your loan agreement. The other is an S&P, where let's say if you buy a new house, it's actually from the developer.
Yeah.
But one key document that you will sign, and most people don't even realize the importance of it, is this thing called a power of attorney. And what does a power of attorney actually do is that because you took a mortgage or took a loan to buy this property, you are actually assigning the rights of the property to the person who gave you the money, which is in this case is the bank. Literally, they have unless that power of attorney is revoked because you have settled the loan, virtually the bank has more power over you because you already is a mortgage. And that's why all this paperwork and all this, it's actually a fee because there's a lot of paperwork that gets involved, right?
That's right. Yeah. No one especially to buy it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So then that's loan documentation, power of attorney.
Yeah.
And then there's valuation fee, which is 0.3%.
Depends. Sometimes if you get new properties, then you don't. But in sub-sale cases, that means it's an existing property. That's why you need the valuation.
Because correct.
Yeah.
Then bank processing fee, which is a bit small, 0.02%.
Yeah.
And then of course, unless you sell the house yourself, you need to pay the real estate agent.
Oh yeah.
Which is about 2%.
Yeah.
Now, total you get to fork out all of this is about 17 to 18% of the property's price.
Purchase price.
Price. So you have not owned the house yet, but this is the amount of money you have to pay. Now, but before that, and this one I only recently discovered, if you are buying a sub-sale property, you also have the booking fee.
Oh yeah.
What? Exactly. That was what I said also. What? And the booking fee, I'm not mistaken, something like 2 to 3% as well.
Depends on certain areas. Like I remember our colleague Ferris. Yeah. So I can't remember what he paid. I think it was about 1 or 2%. I can't remember. It depends. It really depends.
Oh boy. So anyway,
there's a lot of hidden costs.
We're not even talk about the cost of ownership yet.
Yeah.
This is the cost to own. Yeah. Right.
And before any of the listeners here think that we are like super anti properties, we're not. We are just laying down the facts and what we understand and our experience. I mean, my experience and MJ. One day when you get to buy a property, you experience that. And we look up to people who really make it. They really know the game. Guys like Faizul Rizwan, guys like Amanda, right? They really know the game, and I've seen their process and their methodology. I look up to how they do it. Literally, the methodology they employ is very similar to how we employ it towards stocks. It's almost to the dot, and that is coming directly from Faizul's words himself.
Yes. So do check him out if you guys are free. If you guys are interested in property, if you are still not discouraged by us yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So so that is the pre-purchase price. So it's correct. 8 plus booking fee, assuming can be anywhere between 17 to 19%, right? Yes. Or even 20 in some extreme cases.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is after you buy it.
Yeah.
So you add all that together, and let's say you use 17.8%, right?
Yeah.
You need to fork up again, the property price 650,000. A lot of people think, as long as I got 65,000, I can start with really 10%. No.
Yeah.
If the property is 650,000, like this case, to buy the house, you need to fork out $111,569.50.
Oh man, how many people can actually in your 20s or early 20s, right? Can you actually cough up 100 over 1,000? My God, even that first property I told you, the one I bought in Miri, I had to take a loan from my dad, right? And I had to repay him 1 year later with my bonus and everything. If not, can you imagine? I was probably too eager, too naive. I bought the house 6 months into my job, so
man,
not a very wise decision in hindsight. Yeah.
Okay, so now once you own the property, you fork out that 111,000. Here's the additional stuff you have to pay. Number one, property assessment tax, which is about 0.33% of rental value, I believe.
Depends on where. Like,
Okay.
you just reminded me I have to pay my my condo at end of this month.
Okay, very good. That's why we have this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so 0.33% of rental value, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Yeah.
Then you got quit rent, cukai tanah, which is 3.5 cents per square feet.
Oh yeah.
Okay, home insurance.
Oh yes.
Okay, mortgage insurance, which is like why?
Homeowners insurance, mortgage insurance.
Why a mortgage insurance when the insurance for the mortgager, which is the bank, is the house?
It's a house.
Your
Your
then they call this
properties.
MLTA, MRTA, right?
MRTA for the banks, mainly MRTA.
MRTA, right?
Is to protect the bank is to protect the bank more than you, actually. Sad to say.
You know, it's like our good friend Poige once said, it's like wearing 2 condoms. Okay, anyway, enough about that. So utility bills and then maintenance, right? So maintenance probably will be about 240 ringgit a month. For
Depends.
this
So it depends. Okay,
yeah.
So I've seen condos where I live, 80 cents per square feet. So if you have a condo that's 2,000 square feet, you're talking about $160 a month.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, all these numbers are
no,
giving,
1,006. Sorry, not 160.
Yeah. So, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, this is monthly figures.
Yes.
So that 1,006 or this 240 ringgit a month that I am explaining.
Yeah.
So all that amounts, right, to roughly 830 ringgit
A month.
to manage this Casa Tropicana property at 635,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So here's what we did with our spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, one more big cost. Of course, I forgot this one. The mortgage. Okay, the mortgage.
Yeah.
So the mortgage. Now today, if you take a full loan, right? I believe this is a 30-year loan.
Okay.
Okay, at 2.9%, which is roughly what it is. This is actually 2.85. I just round it off.
Okay.
Your loan, which will be about 571,000. Okay. The house size is about 1188, so nearly 1,002 square feet, which is slightly smaller than a terrace, about 30% smaller. Okay. Mortgage 2.9%. Every month you have to fork out about 2,378. Every month.
So if you're on a salary of what, 3,000?
Okay, basically
4,000,
let me summarize it. If you are not earning 7K, don't buy this house.
Yeah, no way. So if you're earning about 3, I think even a 300,000 property is gonna cost you quite a pretty penny.
Yeah, 300,000 will be about 55K upfront, and then about
1,000 plus a month lah.
Everything add together probably two lah.
So your take home probably after that is probably
nothing
1
lah. Nothing to take home. Nothing to take home. Home is empty. So okay. So here's the summarized versions. Okay. Now, your interest payments, which is 2,004 a month roughly, plus your maintenance and all that. You add all that together over 30 years, which is the tenure of your loan.
Yeah.
Will cost you about 1.2 million ringgit. Okay. And let's say you can rent it out. And assuming this is an investment, so you don't stay in this house. This is an investment, you rent it out, and then it grows at, I believe, 3 to 4% every year.
In terms of capital appreciation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So and never, not a single month, there is no renter.
Yeah.
That means once your tenant leave, another one replaces, right? Or maybe you get the same tenant for 30 years, which is a bit interesting. But okay. So you do that. Okay. You get from rental income 2.8 million. So far, so good.
2.8 of 600,000 is probably 4 or 5, almost 5 times. 4 times. 4.5 times.
Yes. So now, here's the thing. What we did then was to assume that the property value will grow at 8% a year.
Okay.
Every year for 30 years.
Okay.
So now I'm going to synthesize the math, right? Everything taken together, the cost of owning the property, is 2.2 million.
Okay.
And your gain, which is the capital gains plus the rental that you get.
How much are you selling? So you're capital gain is 8% per year. So
it's roughly 10x.
10 times what you
Yes.
bought. That means 6 million, right? Okay.
About 7.
About 7. Okay.
It's actually about 7.
Okay.
Okay. So your total proceeds will be 9.2 million.
Okay. So total rental plus how much you're going to sell the property, 10 times the value of what you purchase, right?
Yes.
10 times, guys.
There are two very, very, very big. No, actually, sorry. 4 very big assumptions here.
Okay.
Number 1, you can sell it for 10 times the price. Okay, 30 years, 10 price. Ask yourself, if you are listening to this, ask yourself, is that realistic or not? To us, no. Okay. The house that my parents bought, after 26 years, and it's in PJ.
Yeah.
Okay, after 26, 27 years, okay, it only went up 7 times, and it's in PJ.
Yes.
One of the best areas in Klang Valley.
Yeah.
So 7 times only. This one 10 times. Okay, that's assumption number 1.
Yeah.
Assumption number 2 is that rent keep going up and you always get rental. Number 3, no big repairs. And number 4, no renovation.
Okay. So that means your paint, your ICI or your Dulux has to stay
You
there.
just walk in, it's a showroom already. You just go and sit down and start playing your PS5, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so those are the 4 big assumptions.
Yeah.
So your total gains after you take your proceeds
Yep.
minus off all the expenses, right? Your maintenance, the 111K plus all the mortgage and all that. What you get is 7 million ringgit. So after 30 years, you put in 115, you get 7 million. Not bad.
Yeah. They would say, oh, cash on cash return, 100K
very good.
to, wow, fantastic. Yeah.
Well, actually, what you put in is about 2.2 million lah because of
Yeah, but they most investors, newbie investors, they'll say, oh, I put in down payment plus
cash on
everything.
cash, COCR, right? Yeah,
COCR.
but you know the I don't know lah, guys. Ask yourself this question if you're saying that, right?
Yeah.
The cash you pay, the money that you pay for your mortgage, is that real cash or not? Not real cash. I think it's quite real lah. Huh?
Yeah.
So it's about 2.2 million. That's the cost, right? No renovation, nothing. Just okay. So that is what you can do in a very sunny, based on very sunny assumptions for properties, right? Unlikely it will happen, but let's say it does.
Yeah.
So what we did then was, okay, why not we compare it with stocks? And instead of putting that 111,000
Okay.
into a property, we put it in stocks.
Okay.
And then the monthly outflow that you get because you have to pay all the expenses for properties, which is roughly about 1,008.
Yep.
Instead of taking that 1,008 to pay the bank or whoever, you
top up
pay
lah.
yourself and put it in this stock portfolio every month. All right. Now, and assuming you do not increase your savings.
That means it's a flat rate. That means whatever
Flat.
that you use to top up for the property's cost or cash flow is used to top up your stock portfolio.
Yes.
Flat rate.
Yes. So instead of giving the bank money, you're giving yourself money. Right? Instead of giving all the quit rent, cukai tanah, all that, the government money, you're giving yourself money.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you have at the end of the day? Okay.
At what is the compound rate? So we talked about the properties one, which was 9 million proceeds, cost of 2 million, you get 7 million after 30 years. So in this case, same capital outlay initial, same monthly outlay.
Yes.
And compounding at what rate?
10% only.
Okay, so what was the total amount after 30 years?
You get 6.4 million.
Oh, okay, slightly less.
Less, but remember, how many assumptions do you have to make for these stocks? How many assumptions do you have to make for the property?
Okay, so for those of you who have never invested, just to give you some context, unit trusts in Malaysia, fixed D in Malaysia probably give you 1.75 to about 2%, right? Annualized. If you go into most unit trusts, probably they will give you a return anywhere between 4 to, if you're very, very, very lucky, 15%. Very, very lucky. Okay. Here we put in 10, so it's somewhere in between what a unit trust. Now, what would be the next step above that?
So if you can just increase it to 12%, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you have the right skills,
totally doable.
Totally doable. 8.2 million.
Okay, so at properties is 7,
sorry, 10. Sorry, apologies. 10.4 million.
10.4. So at properties is 7 million,
Yep.
30 years. At a 10% compounding rate is 6.4. If you are doing 12, it's 10.4.
Mm-hmm.
What about 15, MJ? 15%. Same capital outlay, same amount of top up.
22 million.
So guys,
Now, okay, so that is the compounded monthly one if you break it down. So let's say if you compound annually, which is a bit less, then the numbers change a little bit.
Okay.
So if at 10%, you get 10%, it's about 5.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
At 12%,
Mm-hmm.
it's 8 million already.
Okay.
Just 2% is difference. And then
Okay.
at 15, that number becomes, that number becomes 17 million. But the basic idea, the gap is very big.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but between 7 million with all the headaches that we've not included, tenancy management, paperwork, all the rents, quit rents, taxation, everything that you have to pay, versus somewhat of a volatile, let's just say in our case, somewhat of a volatile asset, quote unquote, right? That can give you 15% compound, you're looking at a difference of at least 10 million already. I mean, from 7 to what, 17?
15, 7 to 17. Yeah.
17. So it's about a difference.
And you know, I think here's what really is here's really how to think about it, right? When you pay for a mortgage and all that, what you're actually giving up is your freedom, I feel.
No, it's spot on, because here maybe I'm gonna share the story that why I had to sell the property. That first house that I told you I bought, MJ, in Miri, it was literally, I would say that if I were to be able to afford something of that size, that stature, and gated guarded in KL, it would have easily cost me about 10 million.
Yeah.
If I had a net worth of probably 100 million, I would definitely buy that same house again, because I wanted the space for my study and all that kind of thing. But
at 100 million, you can buy it for cash. So
I can literally buy for cash.
You can hire people to manage it for you.
Correct. But the point I was trying to bring up was that, did I love that house? I did. I absolutely loved it. But I had to sell because I thought to myself, if I'm moving, here I was from Miri, was being transferred to KL. And I looked at the economic, the industrial trends that were going on at that point. I asked myself, how likely am I going to go back to Miri based on my career path progression?
That's right.
And it was a struggle for me to maintain that house if I am in KL, because if you don't rent it, the house is going to get old very fast.
Of course.
Yeah, no one's going to stay in there. So it was a very emotionally tough decision for me to sell. And because of that, every month, but at the same time, it was very painful every month because I had to fork out 2.5.
You're forced to love it.
I'm forced to love it. So you see, you are absolutely right. Your mobility is tied down.
Yes.
And in my scenario and in my career as an oil and gas professional, you are expected to move very often.
Oh man, yeah.
You are expected to move very often. And can you imagine, just because you have a house, let's say in Kuching or wherever lah, let's say in Sitiawan, but because you had better career prospects or even better,
maybe you triple, quadruple your salary.
Yeah, and takana you don't want to, you feel that, oh, I won't get this, I won't take on this job because I have a house in Sitiawan. No way, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, when you're there, you're busy climbing your corporate ladder and all that, you will think of what you will do by then, right? Is I have this house in Sitiawan. It's another headache. There's another headache to manage. Yeah, I rather get my brother or sister, and then your brother or sister who, let's just say, if he's staying there for rent free, maybe they'll love taking care of it. But other than that,
yeah, and if you get the skill to compound 15%, which is not, again, guys, it's doable.
It's doable.
You know what you're actually doing?
Yeah.
You're actually undervaluing your freedom by 10 million ringgit.
That's quite a bit to undervalue.
That's really what it is.
At 10 million, you can buy a second-hand jet like Tony. Tony bought his second-hand jet 10 million only. It was Global Express. Yeah. A Bombardier Global Express.
So, look, okay, I think it's enough math for everyone today.
Yeah.
So I think just to wrap up, right?
Yeah.
Now we talked about properties, the ins and outs, the details, why it's most probably not a good idea to do it unless you are rich. And I think that's one thing I want to talk about as well, is that actually the problem is that when we listen to people who came before us, older people, and they say buy properties, you don't believe me now, all right? If you're listening to this, you go and look at those people who always advocate buying properties. You realize that they actually got rich before they started buying properties. In other words, right, you have to be rich to buy a property. To be a property. Because property is actually a place for rich people to store their wealth, not to grow it.
It's a hedge for them. It's a capital preservation tool.
Yes.
A lot of people don't see that.
And in my mind, there's really only 2 or maybe 3 now asset classes that will actually help you become wealthy. Maybe 4. Okay. First one's obviously a fantastic job. Second is to own a business. Third is to invest in stocks. And fourth is maybe cryptocurrencies, right? That one, of course, is there's less history about that. But, maybe that's the case. The point is, if you want to get wealthy, don't go to properties. Go to these 4 things first.
Yeah.
Then when you make too much money, then you want to buy whatever properties around the world, not just in Malaysia, around the world. It's up to you. So I think now let's go deeper into why we think stocks really are better. I think the first one is liquidity.
Yeah.
Right. The one that you mentioned about, which is, if you have an emergency, you got your forced savings in your house.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you know why they call it forced savings? Because you have to try to force it out when you want to pay for your...
You have to force it out of the bank when you...
Yeah.
Remember earlier in the podcast, you brought up this point about forced savings, right?
Yeah.
I told you that in my naive younger self...
Yep.
Whatever excess or bonus that I had, you read up online, it says, dump it into your property loan to pay down so that you get less, you're paying less interest. I believe that. I seriously believe that. And it was me growing up and being not so smart and all that, right? But then when I did the math, if I'm compounding at 15, if I have the skills to compound at 15, why should I be saving up for... At that time, when I was paying, my loan was about 4%. I'm like, hey, the delta is like 11%. Even if the delta is like 5%, I'm like, whoa, that's a huge delta, guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, compound delta at 11%, So
and ironically, that's the beauty of property leverage. Not so that you can compound your money through properties, but you can compound your money through some other things like stocks.
Correct.
And so liquidity, ties back to my point about net worth, right? The ransom story. Can you actually fork it out? Because, if let's say I own a stock and I have an emergency, I just sell the stock. I get the money immediately, and then I just bank.
3 days.
I bank the money out, right? 3 days.
Yeah.
But a property, best case scenario, even if you manage to sell it, that means the minute you think of it, that same day you manage to sell it, it's 6 months at least.
That is everything. All the ducks are lined up, virtually. 6
months.
The ducks are lined up 6 months. Yeah.
So the second one is the fact that, according to Credit Suisse, it is the best performing asset class.
Stocks, yes.
All right. So this is data.
Yeah.
So the first one I talked to you about liquidity that's more practical. But this one is more data, more empirical, right?
Yeah.
And
it wasn't just Credit Suisse. I think it was Professor Jeremy Siegel also said that. A few studies are, but I think the most recent one that is that we really like was.
But Professor Jeremy Siegel did not include properties.
He did. He included bonds, treasury, gold. Yeah, but he didn't. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So Credit Suisse one, yes.
So if you look at the Credit Suisse report, and you can Google, I think it's called "Raise the Glass to Equities." Right?
Yes,
so you can Google it.
Yeah.
Stocks did way better than so many, properties.
It trumped
bonds, gold, rare violins, and all that.
Rare violins was even better than properties.
Yeah. Gold was better than properties, which was a bit shocking to me.
Yeah.
But so and after inflation it's like 5.2%, right?
Correct.
Whereas houses after inflation was 0.3%, right?
Yes.
So I think just the data itself is screaming at us that really stocks is the way to go. Number 3, and I think this is probably one of the more underrated one, is that and they are linked, right, is you can start small, which means your bounce back ability is a lot higher. See, if you start small, right, let's use the example we gave earlier on about the Casa Tropicana 635,000 house. So if you have 100,000, right?
115, 117.
100,000. No, 111,000, yeah. To start off with, you need 111,000. Okay, so that's not small already, right?
Yeah.
That's why, property really is for a rich man's game.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake in that property,
Mm-hmm.
that's 111,000 gone or down the drain.
Yep.
Right? It's stuck. But with stocks, you can start with 100 ringgit or maybe let's say 1,000 ringgit.
Mm-hmm.
What this means is that you can literally buy 111 stocks, let it go to zero for all those cases, for all those 111 tries, and you will only still lose the same amount of money than you would with a single property. But the difference is that by the time you lose 111 times in the stock market, you're already wiser.
Yeah.
Right? You're able to come back and you are able to be more knowledgeable.
Correct. And you are by you doing 111 stocks, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what are the
odds of you losing
the
and failing
odds
is
of you
actually quite
losing?
low lah.
But you see, when you are doing that with property, it's 1-to-1, The ratio is really 1-to-1. But ratio of 1 to 111, I tell you, the odds are so much better compared to
and you have to remember, right, that if you're starting out investing, like the most important thing is to compound knowledge.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do is to have a strategy that allows you to make as many mistakes as possible without destroying your capital.
Correct.
Without destroying your capital, right? So I think that's really important. Yeah. Now, this last point I want to make is they're both pretty much the same, although I broke it down into two. But basically, stocks are more intellectually stimulating. Hence, you actually become I can't believe I'm saying this. It's very, very rude for me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You actually become smarter, I think.
Oh, yeah.
If in stock. Not because you are a smarter person.
Yes.
It's because investing in stocks forces you to become smarter.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
Earlier we mentioned that we both respect what guys like Faisal Rizwan.
By the way, he's a smart guy.
I've met him.
He's smart enough to be a stock investor. But he's a humble guy, so he's jokes. Yeah. Okay.
Jokes aside. So what makes Faisal so good is you look at the amount of data he uses. It's insane. To tell you the truth, is you would hardly see a novice property investor actually use that kind of data sets. And to MJ's point about being smarter, somehow or rather stocks you are forced, whether you like it, if it's not your cup of tea, that's why you wouldn't be a very good stock investor. I'm sorry to say that, right? But you are kind of forced to have this curious mindset of trying to link all this together. And you see the world. I say you see the world from a very, very different lens.
Yeah.
Because now you understand the correlation between
industries,
economics,
yeah,
growth, and that's why
how management can affect decisions.
Correct. Like I mean the story about Warren Buffett and gold and the farmland. I think that was for me was I was mind blown how simple it was, but how profound it impacted. Virtually, what determines property prices or even things like gold is really supply and demand. But what about businesses? Businesses are breathing, living, dynamic things.
Yeah.
They have to be smart enough to adapt to consumer trend changes.
Yeah.
The management has to be adaptive to change the way they run businesses, to be lean, to be adaptive to all kinds of challenges being thrown at them. And that's the beauty of what you get as a stock investor, to understand all this. But for properties, yes, there are changing trends. Maybe they go more vertical. Maybe there's ways of laying out a property that makes it more cost feasible. But it doesn't really forces you to look at other data other than...
That's right.
Yes. And I think that's my 2 cents added to whatever points that you've already added.
Yeah, like you're in the oil and gas industry, right? So if you want to invest in an oil and gas stock, well, you need to understand the value chain.
Oh, man.
You need to understand who sits where. Then you need to learn how to read financials.
Correct.
So that you can verify your thoughts and all that. Then you need to understand who's the management.
Right.
Then you need to do valuation, right?
Yes.
Finding out if it's cheap or expensive.
Yes.
And you need to learn things like risk management, things that we teach in our SIB.
Yeah.
And just going through the process of it, even though it's obviously a steeper learning curve, I think it's far more rewarding. Yeah. And also you learn more.
Yeah.
And the only thing better than compounding money is compounding knowledge.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's a very funny place where people invest in stocks. When I say funny, is because you need to approach it with a tinge of arrogance. but at the same time, you also need to approach it with a tinge of humility, because for stock investors, right, knowing that the mental capacity for you to do stocks requires a lot.
That's right.
But
Absolutely.
at the same time, you need a dose of humility to know. And I think that's something that is you have to learn being an investor.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that is even more profound as a stock investor rather than, so there's this blend of arrogance and I wouldn't say arrogance, self-confidence and humility.
That is a good end note, and I think we should call it a day on this podcast. We can go on and on with this, obviously.
Correct.
But yeah, guys, that's it. I hope you're now more educated on stocks versus properties, why exactly we do not like properties, and why we like stocks. And, see you in the next podcast.
Goodbye.